My name is Chelsea. A few weeks ago, my father, who had been battling illness, passed away. I wish he could have seen his grandchildren, and that thought weighed heavily on me. I got married 5 years ago when I was 25. At my wedding, my father and I made a promise that I would tell him first when I got pregnant, but that promise remained unfulfilled. It's my one regret about my father, even though I did everything I could for him since his illness was diagnosed a year ago. I visited my parents' home frequently and accompanied my mother to the hospital. I increased the frequency of my phone calls and video chats, but I still can't shake the feeling that I could have done more. My mother, sitting next to me, reassured me. "You did your best, Chelsea." "Really?" I asked. "Yes, your father would have been satisfied," she said. At that moment, my sister Portia walked in with the lawyer. The lawyer, a man in his mid-40s, introduced himself as Samo and handed me his business card. "I'm the attorney. Thank you for coming. Please have a seat," he said. "Excuse me," my mother said as she guided him to a seat. Once he was settled, my sister blurted out, "I heard from this lawyer that Dad left quite an inheritance, and it's not all for you." "Portia, I know that," I said. My sister, now glaring at me, I glared back. Our relationship had become strained since we learned of Dad's illness, mainly because of Portia's arrogance. Despite my attempts to reach out, she never visited our father. Of course, I may have been too harsh because I was worried about him, but her indifference was also a problem. "You're not a child, so stop being so stubborn," I said. "I'm not being stubborn," she retorted. "I live in a city. It's not easy to come out to the countryside. But you can get here in 2 hours by car," I said. "Those 2 hours are tough and costly," she shot back. "It's the money that's important to you, isn't it?" "Of course I'm busy, so stop contacting me," she said. With that, she stopped talking. Even though she lived far away, she could have visited occasionally. That's why our relationship soared so quickly. In the end, Portia never visited our father, and our relationship never improved. The lawyer sensed the tension and intervened. "Let's calm down, please." "I apologize," I said, and the lawyer nodded. "As I mentioned on the phone, I have your father's will here. He contacted me a few weeks before he passed away. We met at the hospital, and he wrote the will in front of me with his primary physician present," the lawyer explained. My father had arranged for his physician to contact the lawyer upon his passing. Then the lawyer reached out to us, which brings us to the present moment. He pulled out a white envelope and placed it in front of us. "This is the will," he said. I recognized my father's handwriting on the envelope. Portia seemed impatient. "Never mind that. Just tell us what's in it." "I'm busy," she snapped. "Of course," the lawyer said with a wry smile as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my father's wishes. Besides the house and land, my father's inheritance included some savings and a storage shed. We knew about the house and land. My name is Chelsea. A few weeks ago, my father, who had been battling illness, passed away. I wish he could have seen his grandchildren, and that thought weighed heavily on me. I got married 5 years ago when I was 25. At my wedding, my father and I made a promise that I would tell him first when I got pregnant, but that promise remained unfulfilled. It's my one regret about my father, even though I did everything I could for him since his illness was diagnosed a year ago. I visited my parents' home frequently and accompanied my mother to the hospital. I increased the frequency of my phone calls and video chats, but I still can't shake the feeling that I could have done more. My mother, sitting next to me, reassured me. "You did your best, Chelsea." "Really?" I asked. "Yes, your father would have been satisfied," she said. At that moment, my sister Portia walked in with the lawyer. The lawyer, a man in his mid-40s, introduced himself as Samo, and handed me his business card. "I'm the attorney. Thank you for coming. Please have a seat," he said. "Excuse me," my mother said as she guided him to a seat. Once he was settled, my sister blurted out, "I heard from this lawyer that Dad left quite an inheritance, and it's not all for you." "Portia, I know that," I said. My sister, now glaring at me, I glared back. Our relationship had become strained since we learned of Dad's illness, mainly because of Portia's arrogance. Despite my attempts to reach out, she never visited our father. Of course, I may have been too harsh because I was worried about him, but her indifference was also a problem. "You're not a child, so stop being so stubborn," I said. "I'm not being stubborn," she retorted. "I live in a city. It's not easy to come out to the countryside." "But you can get here in 2 hours by car," I said. "Those 2 hours are tough and costly," she shot back. "It's the money that's important to you, isn't it?" "Of course I'm busy, so stop contacting me," she said. With that, she stopped talking. Even though she lived far away, she could have visited occasionally. That's why our relationship soured so quickly. In the end, Portia never visited our father, and our relationship never improved. The lawyer sensed the tension and intervened. "Let's calm down, please." "I apologize," I said, and the lawyer nodded. "As I mentioned on the phone, I have your father's will here. He contacted me a few weeks before he passed away. We met at the hospital, and he wrote the will in front of me with his primary physician present," the lawyer explained. My father had arranged for his physician to contact the lawyer upon his passing. Then the lawyer reached out to us, which brings us to the present moment. He pulled out a white envelope and placed it in front of us. "This is the will," he said. I recognized my father's handwriting on the envelope. Portia seemed impatient. "Never mind that. Just tell us what's in it." "I'm busy," she snapped. "Of course," the lawyer said with a wry smile as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my father's wishes. Besides the house and land, my father's inheritance included some savings and a storage shed. We knew about the house and land, but the storage shed was a surprise. As I was pondering this, Portia angrily interrupted the lawyer. "Wait a minute. What about the farm?" she asked. "Farm?" the lawyer asked. "Yes, the farm Dad used to work on as a hobby. My father ran a business in the next town, but after turning 50, he started thinking of closing it. I want to slow down a bit. Is that okay?" Back when I was in high school, I heard this idea. My sister, already in college, wasn't keen on it, but my mother and I, concerned about my father's health, agreed. "Don't worry about the money, Portia," my father reassured her. Reluctantly, she agreed, and so my father closed his company and started farming near our home. He found joy in moving his body while farming and seeing him happy. I felt reassured that we had made the right decision. My sister, however, didn't seem to share the sentiment. She had promised to return home after college, but ended up getting a job near her university. Eventually, she married the CEO of an aita company she met through work. That's why Father took up farming until he fell ill. My sister insisted that the farm should be part of the inheritance. When the lawyer reviewed the documents, he quickly found a note stating that the farm was rented land. "Rented?" My sister said, disappointed, "But I thought we owned a large piece of land." Indeed, the farm where my father grew vegetables was spacious, but maybe it was for the best that it was rented. Considering we knew little about farming, the conversation then turned to dividing the inheritance. "The house and land go to the wife," the lawyer declared, "so we can divide the rest however we want. Please divide the savings and storage shed between you two," he continued. "Savings mean cash, right?" "I'll take the cash," my sister asked. How much is it? The savings amount to about $100,000, the lawyer replied. There's no need to pay inheritance tax for this amount. Then I'll take the $100,000 in cash, my sister declared triumphantly. But I couldn't agree with such a selfish arrangement. I strongly protested against my sister. Wait a minute, I object. Why? I'm the oldest daughter, I argued. That's irrelevant. You can have the storage shed, my sister retorted, flipping through the documents. What even is that, anyway? She asked the lawyer. It's the storage shed next to the farm. You'll inherit the building, the land, and its contents, the lawyer explained. My sister's eyes lit up at the mention of land. Even though she's married to the CEO of an aita company, does she still want more money? I wondered as I pondered. The lawyer continued, but it's about 65 square feet, roughly the size of a small bedroom. A small bedroom? Yes, here are the photos, the lawyer said, placing them on the table. The exterior looked like a rundown shack, and the interior contained only basic tools, nothing of significant value. I don't want it, my sister grimaced, glancing at the photos. The shed looked ordinary, almost unremarkable. These items are sentimental, but they won't bring in any money. As I considered the situation, my sister spoke up. Fine, I'll take the cash. You can have the dirty shed. Hold on, that's not fair, I protested. You agreed to vegetable farming. What are you complaining about now? Her response left me with little to argue. Still, I couldn't let her take all of Dad's inheritance without standing up for myself. So we're good then, my sister pressed, waiting for my answer. My mother interrupted. As long as Portia won't complain later, I have no objections. Portia quickly agreed. Of course, I won't complain. So it was decided Portia would get the cash, and I would receive the shed. My sister grinned triumphantly, but I wasn't content. I objected immediately. Just let it go. Why are you so greedy? Portia shot back. That's not it, I argued. You're being a hassle. You care more about money than about Dad's memory. Portia's words left me speechless. Of course, family is more important than money. While money matters, it should never be more valuable than family. But before I could respond, my sister abruptly ended the conversation. In the end, my mother received the house and land, while Portia got Dad's savings. All I was left with was the shed. My sister signed a document agreeing not to dispute the inheritance division and then laughed loudly. Frustrated, I vented to my mother, "Mom, why didn't you help me?" "I did help you," she replied. "How?" "You let Portia take the cash." "I made sure you got the shed," she said with a smile. I pouted in response, but my mother added, "You might find something surprisingly good if you look closely." The next day, I collected the key from the lawyer and headed to the shed near the field. It was a 10-minute walk from home, along a quiet rural road. Finally, I reached the field my father had rented for the past year. Now that he had been hospitalized, the field stood empty. I unlocked the shed and pushed the door open. "Wow, it's dusty," I muttered as a cloud of dust greeted me. The shed clearly hadn't been cleaned in a while. Still, there might be something of sentimental value left by Dad, I thought, glancing around. But the interior was just a dirty shed filled with farming tools and not much else. While the tools might have sentimental value, they were nothing extraordinary. Maybe I should just take what's inside for now, I mumbled as I continued to survey the room. That's when I noticed something strange. "Huh," I muttered. The inside of the shed seemed smaller than it looked from the outside. Perhaps it was the dim lighting, but the space felt a bit more confined than I had anticipated. Could it be my imagination? I stepped outside to take a closer look around the shed, but the feeling that something was off remained. After thinking it over, I walked around to the back of the shed, where it was bordered by a thicket of trees. To my astonishment, there was another door at the back. Wait, another entrance. I gasped. From inside the shed, there had only been a solid wall, indicating the only entrance was the door I used earlier. Yet from the back, there was another door. I was puzzled. How could there be a door at the back that wasn't visible from inside? This suggested there was a separate space accessible only from the outside. Excitement surged through me as I realized this could be one of Dad's surprises. He loved surprises and often surprised me on my birthdays. The memories brought tears to my eyes. Determined to uncover Dad's hidden surprise, I hurried back into the shed and began searching for the key to the back door. If Dad had left something special, he would have likely hidden the key somewhere in the shed. I let my instincts guide me as I began the search. I rummaged through the shed and eventually found 2 keys hidden in the handle of a shovel. Curious, I went around to the back and tried one of the keys in the door. With a click, the door opened. What could be in here? I wondered. Inside the small space, only about 3 feet wide, stood a large safe. Is this from Dad's company? I thought as I recognized the safe. It was the same one I had seen in the corner of his office when I was a child. Feeling nostalgic, I have the safe. This discovery brought back memories of my father and made the inheritance worthwhile. However, knowing Dad, I was sure this wasn't the final surprise. There must be more surprises, I muttered as I inserted the second key into the safe. The door creaked open with a rusty sound. What I saw inside left me speechless. The safe contained an unexpected inheritance. I quickly locked the safe again and rushed to find my mother to share the news. After explaining the situation to her, I called my husband for help moving the safe from my parents' house. It then dawned on me that the contents of the safe were likely part of my inheritance and might require me to pay inheritance tax. I decided to seek professional advice to handle the situation properly. I consulted the lawyer who recommended I speak with a certified public accountant. With a referral from a friend, I found an accountant and left the complicated matters in their hands. A year passed, and just when I thought things had finally settled down, my sister showed up near my home. What brings you here all of a sudden? I asked my sister, puzzled by her unexpected visit. Well, I had some business at our parents' house, so I stopped by, she replied vaguely, her behavior striking me as odd. It seemed unlikely that she would casually visit, especially given the tensions surrounding our father's inheritance. Our relationship wasn't one that involved casual drop-ins. I couldn't shake off my suspicion as I observed her. Despite her nervous demeanor, my sister asked, "Can I come in?" I hesitated for a moment before reluctantly agreeing. Once inside, after serving some coffee, she began to fidget before finally speaking up. "Do you happen to have won the lottery or something?" she blurted out. Confused, I shook my head. No, I didn't. And it's not bonus season for my husband either. Perplexed by her line of questioning, I asked, "What on earth are you talking about?" This seemed to trigger her, and suddenly she grew offensive. "What are you making fun of me for?" she snapped. "No, I'm not making fun of you. I just don't understand what you're talking about," I replied, trying to keep the situation calm. "Money, you have it, don't you?" "Money," she exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement. It was then that she launched into a story she had heard a few days ago. She had run into her aunt in the city by chance, and their conversation had turned to our father's passing. "I know how hard it's been for you since you lost your father. Are you doing okay?" Our aunt had asked. "Yes, well, I visited him many times when he was sick." "Thank you," my sister had replied. "But you must be relieved, right? Getting such a big thank you gift." Our aunt had continued. Thank you gift. Yes, your sister sent me a $500 gift card as a thank you for visiting him. Our aunt had revealed. My sister had latched onto this information, convinced that I had sent the gift card. You came into some extra money, didn't you? My sister accused, pressing me for an answer. Ah, so that's what this is about, I sighed, understanding her line of questioning. My reaction seemed to annoy her, and she snapped. Why are you acting like that? Are you mocking me? No, not at all. It was just a thank you gift, I explained calmly. But where did you get the money for it? That's what I want to know, she demanded. From the inheritance, I replied. My sister frowned upon hearing this. All you got was that dirty shed, she said. Yes, that's true, but there was a safe inside the shed. That's where the real inheritance was, I clarified. Real inheritance, she repeated, her interest piqued. I went on to explain the contents of the safe inside were valuable watches my father had collected as a hobby during his life. I admitted that I didn't know their exact worth, but I estimated the remaining savings at around $100,000. Joy and my father have been a successful business owner who retired early. This amount seemed modest. It led me to believe he had invested heavily in those watches. If they're valuable, you'll have to pay inheritance tax, my mother had pointed out after seeing the contents of the safe. What should I do, Mom? I had asked. She paused to consider and advised. It's best to declare everything properly. Things like this always come out in the end. But how do I go about it? I asked. Let's consult the lawyer we spoke to recently, she suggested. So I scheduled another meeting with the lawyer. I was informed that when you inherit valuable items, the inheritance tax is determined by their current market value. Additionally, I was advised that a certified public accountant could manage the tax situation for me. So I entrusted them with the task. After consulting with the accountant, it was determined that the watches alone were valued at a minimum of $500,000. With such high-value watches, you'll need to pay inheritance tax, the accountant advised. To cover the inheritance tax, I decided to sell some of the watches. Since I lacked expertise in valuing them, it made sense to sell the more expensive pieces to someone who could appreciate their worth. The proceeds from the sale were used to pay the inheritance tax, and I sent thank you gifts to the relatives who had supported us. Those thank you gifts were the gift cards my sister was referring to. Meanwhile, I kept sentimental items like the pocket watch my father often wore. As I shared the story with my sister, I showed her the pocket watch. This one isn't expensive, but it holds the most memories for me, I explained. Despite this, my sister's reaction was less than enthusiastic. You don't have any watches left? She asked. No, I still have some of the safe. It's at Mom's place. The safe is too large for my house and was the one Dad used at his company, I reassured her. My sister murmured, looking away and deep in thought. Her expression made me uneasy, but she soon stood up and announced, I'm leaving. Now that I know where the money came from. She left without further incident. Given my sister's focus on money, I expected she might demand a share of the proceeds from the watch sales, so I was relieved she left without any fuss. In my relief, I overlooked the earlier unease I felt about her demeanor. However, my relief was short-lived. Late that night, my mother called me urgently. Chelsea, it's urgent. Please come over right away, she said, her voice shaky. What happened, Mom? I asked, alarmed by her frantic tone. It's just really bad, she replied. My husband and I rushed to my mother's house. As we approached, we noticed something alarming. The area around my parents' house was lit up in red. What's going on? I exclaimed as we got closer. The reason became clear. Several police cars were parked outside my parents' house. I pushed through the crowd and called out to my mother. "What happened, Mom?" My mother told me the story. Around 9 o'clock p.m., feeling exhausted, she had already gone to bed. Shortly after, she heard
She doesn't even belong here. It's humiliating. Amanda's voice sliced through the soft hum of conversation, halting everything. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, gone in an instant. My heart clenched. Across the room, my 8-year-old daughter, Lily, froze mid-turn of her cherished music box. Her small fingers hovered above the brass key, her eyes locked on the floor. The warmth of the living room evaporated, replaced by a suffocating stillness. "I'm Emma, and I never imagined hearing words like that about my child, especially not from Amanda, my brother's new wife. Lily was diagnosed with autism at 4. She may experience the world through a different lens, but her heart? It's the most radiant thing I know." "What did you just say?" I asked, trying to steady the tremble in my voice. Amanda, draped elegantly on the edge of our parents' ornate sofa like she was posing for a catalog shoot, sighed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, Emma. Someone had to say it. She just sits there, fiddling with that music box, barely saying a word. It's a party, not a therapy session." The air turned brittle. Conversations died mid-sentence. My brother, Michael, shifted in his seat, eyes glued to the floor. The silence from him hit harder than Amanda's cruelty. We'd grown up side by side in this house. We were a team. Now he wouldn't even defend his niece. "She's family," my mom offered gently, though the conviction in her voice faltered. Conflict had never been her strength, especially not since Amanda entered our lives 6 months ago, all stilettos and sarcasm. I glanced at Lily. She still held the music box close, a delicate antique our grandmother had given her before passing. It was more than a keepsake, it was her anchor. Gran had been the one person who fully embraced Lily, who never saw her as broken, just beautifully unique. "We're leaving," I said, rising. "It's clear we're not welcome." I reached for Lily's hand, but she didn't budge. Instead, she did something none of us expected. She opened the music box. The soft, familiar melody filled the room, "Over the Rainbow," Gran's favorite. But then Lily's voice rose gently to meet the notes, singing each line with haunting clarity. Her voice, usually barely above a whisper, carried through the stunned silence, every note tender, perfect. Amanda's smugness cracked. My mom's eyes glistened. Michael looked up at last, his expression stunned, equal parts guilt and awe. When the final note faded, Lily spoke, her voice quiet but certain. "Ron taught me. She said music speaks when words can't. She also gave me these." She reached inside the music box and pulled out a stack of sealed, time-worn letters. Amanda's voice snapped. "What is that supposed to be?" "Letters," Lily said, holding them with care. "From Gran, one for each of us. She said to give them out when the time was right. I think this is the time." One by one, Lily handed them out, first to my parents, then Michael, then me. She stopped in front of Amanda and looked up. "There isn't one for you," she said plainly. "Gran told me family is about who stays, not who marries in." Amanda flushed, caught between anger and disbelief. Michael opened his letter with shaky hands, his eyes scanning the page. Tears slid down his cheeks. "She knew," he whispered. "Gran knew we'd start to fall apart after she was gone. That some people would try to rewrite what family means." He looked at Amanda with fresh eyes, really looked at her, and said nothing. Across the room, my parents read their letter together, their hands clasped tight, their faces softened by sorrow and something deeper, recognition. I opened mine, the scent of Gran's perfume rising from the paper, her handwriting looping with familiar grace. "My dearest Emma, by now things have changed. But family, real family, isn't about appearances or perfection. It's about love, loyalty, and seeing each other fully. Lily doesn't just see the world differently, she sees it more clearly. She sees hearts, not faces, intentions, not appearances. Trust her. I always did. There's one more thing in the music box. Something to remind everyone what really matters. Let her share it when she's ready. With all my love, Gran." I looked up just in time to see Lily reaching back into the music box. Her fingers closed around something hidden beneath the velvet lining, something she kept safe until now. Amanda stood abruptly, her voice brittle. You're letting a child manipulate you. She doesn't even function normally. But nobody responded. No one even looked at her. Every gaze was on Lily, standing tall in the middle of the room, her music box open, her courage unfolding with it. And in that still, sacred moment, we all understood. This was not the end of anything. It was the beginning. Lily pulled out a small, worn leather journal from a hidden compartment in the music box. The room remained silent as she opened it carefully, revealing pages filled with Gron's handwriting and something else. Photographs. Gron kept a diary, Lily said softly, her voice clear and steady. She wrote about everyone, about what she saw. She turned the pages gently, showing candid photos of our family through the years. Happy moments, difficult times, all captured through Gron's observant eyes. Then she stopped at a particular page. This is from 6 months ago, before Gron died. She held up a photo that made Amanda's face turn ghostly white. It showed Amanda at a cafe with another man, their hands intertwined across the table, taken just weeks before she married Michael. That's not what it looks like, Amanda stammered, but Lily wasn't finished. Gron wrote about that day, she continued, her finger tracing the words on the page. She saw you with him 3 more times. She wrote that she was worried about Michael, about what you might do to our family. Michael stood up slowly, his face a mixture of hurt and anger. Amanda? What is this? It's nothing. Amanda snapped, but her voice trembled. That old woman was crazy, following me around with a camera like some stalker. Gron wasn't crazy, Lily said firmly. She was protecting us, like she always did. She turned another page, revealing more photos, more entries. She wrote about how you made fun of me when you thought no one was listening. How you told Michael that keeping me in the family would ruin his image. My heart ached hearing this, but I couldn't take my eyes off my daughter. This little girl, who some people thought couldn't understand the world around her, had been carrying these truths, waiting for the right moment to protect our family. She also wrote about your plan, Lily continued, her voice growing stronger. About how you wanted to convince Michael to sell the family house after Gron died. She heard you on the phone with someone, talking about how much money you could make from the property. My parents gasped. The family home had been in our family for generations. The thought of selling it was unthinkable. That's enough, Amanda shouted, lunging for the diary, but Michael caught her arm, his face hard with realization. No, he said quietly, let her finish. Lily turned to the last page, where a final photo was carefully attached. It showed Amanda leaving a lawyer's office, dated just last week. Gron's friend Mrs. Peterson works there, Lily explained. She saw Amanda asking about how to transfer the house deed after marriage. The room erupted in chaos. Amanda was shouting denials, my parents were demanding explanations, but Michael just stood there, staring at the evidence of his wife's betrayal spread out before him. Why didn't you show us this sooner? He asked Lily quietly. My daughter looked at him with those wise eyes that saw so much more than people realized. Gron said timing matters. She said sometimes people need to show who they really are before the truth can help. I moved to stand behind Lily, placing my hands protectively on her shoulders. But she didn't need my protection anymore. She had grown stronger than any of us had realized. You don't understand what you're doing, Amanda hissed, grabbing her designer purse. You're ruining everything. No, Michael said, his voice firm. You did that yourself. He turned to Lily, kneeling down to her level. Thank you, sweetheart, for watching over us, just like Gron asked you to. Amanda stormed out, the door slamming behind her. The sound echoed through the house, marking the end of her presence in our family. My parents embraced Lily, their eyes filled with tears of gratitude and regret. We're so sorry, Mom whispered, for not seeing everything sooner, for not standing up for you stronger. But Lily just smiled, that beautiful, pure smile that lit up her whole face. Gron said family sometimes loses its way, she said, but love always brings them back home. She closed the music box gently, the familiar melody playing one last time. But there was still one more secret hidden inside, one final gift from Gron that would heal our family completely. The last part of the music box had a small folded paper and a tiny key. Lily carefully unfolded the paper and smoothed it out with her hands. It's Gron's real will, she said quietly. Michael leaned in, confused. But we already read the will months ago. Mom nodded. The lawyer handled it all after Gron passed. That wasn't Gron's real lawyer, Lily explained. Gron wrote that Amanda made her use someone else. But Gron kept the real will safe. She held up the key. This opens her safety deposit box at the old bank downtown. I remembered that bank. Gron had always used it, even when newer ones opened. Now I knew why. She was protecting our family, even after she was gone. The next morning, we all went to the bank. When the box opened, we found another letter from Gron and some legal papers that changed everything. The house, Mom said, her eyes wide. She read from the papers. Gron said it can never be sold. It belongs to a family trust, for Lily. Tears filled my eyes as I read Gron's letter. She had watched Lily grow, seen how special she was, and knew Lily was the right one to take care of our family's home and memories. Lily sees the truth where others only see differences, Gron wrote. She'll protect our home and keep our family together, just like she protected this will until the right time. Michael, who had started the process to divorce Amanda that morning, knelt beside Lily. You saved our home. You saved all of us. Lily smiled, a calm, knowing smile that reminded me so much of Gron. Gron said home isn't just a place, she said. It's where family remembers who they really are. In the months that followed, our family grew close again. The house became warm and full of laughter. Michael spent more time with Lily, and he began to see the world through her eyes. One evening, as we sat on the porch swing Gron had loved, Lily opened her music box again. As the melody played, she showed me a photo she had kept hidden until now. It was of Gron holding baby Lily, looking at her with love and pride. On the back, Gron had written, "Some see her difference as a problem. I see it as her superpower. She'll show everyone that love is louder than words, and truth is brighter than how things look." Gron knew you needed time to believe in yourself, I told Lily, hugging her close. She knew you'd show the world your strength, your way. She said being different isn't wrong, Lily replied, her voice strong. It's just a better way of seeing things. When the real will was shown, Amanda's claims to the house and family estate were thrown out. She left quickly, and we didn't see her again. Michael was free to heal, and our family was stronger without her. Now the music box sits on the fireplace mantel. Lily plays it every evening. Its soft tune reminds us of love, courage, and how one quiet girl saved us all. Gron's love lives on, not just in the house, but in Lily. She showed us that family isn't about being perfect. It's about love, kindness, and standing up for what's right. And Lily, she keeps amazing us. We no longer hide her autism or feel ashamed of it. We celebrate it, because Gron was right. Lily's way of seeing the world makes our lives richer, stronger, and more beautiful than we ever imagined.